What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to pretty much break down exactly how I got my first Airbnb property, which was an arbitrage before I actually started buying houses, right? So many people think that you need to own houses in order to get started with investing, whether it's through a long-term rental, whether it's through a mid-term rental, whether it's through a short-term rental. And I feel like that misconception just needs to be debunked before I actually explain how I even got my first Airbnb arbitrage, okay? And when I say arbitrage, I'm talking about rental arbitrage, taking someone else's house that you don't even need to own, getting legal permission to sublease that house, and then listing it on Airbnb, right? Because the truth is, you can go find houses and manage houses anywhere in the country, right? And before I even got started buying houses and doing rental arbitrage, I was managing properties. I was a property manager, okay? So that's actually how I got into the Airbnb space and got my feet wet. I didn't just start off like doing deals and buying and signing leases on properties. No, I literally went to Zillow and I found a really, really nice house that was near me. And I called the homeowner of that house. I started in Maryland, and I was looking for properties in Virginia. And I found a really, really nice luxury house. And I literally called that homeowner, and I said, hey, I see your house has been listed on the market for like 60 days because his rental was not getting rented out. It was like a 5-bedroom, single-family house in Fairfax County, in Vienna, Virginia, okay? And his house was not getting rented out. It was sitting on the market. I think he had it priced up too high for rent. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, listen, like, in the meantime, while you're trying to like rent your house out as a long-term rental, would you be opposed to listing it as a short-term rental? He's like, what do you mean short-term rental? And I was like, well, the house is already furnished, correct? And he was like, yeah, it is. I was like, okay, well, you know, there are people in this area looking to stay in a short-term rental, like on a temporary basis, on a short-term basis, and they're looking for properties that are furnished. Like, would you be opposed to having me help you list this rental property until it gets rented out, like until you find a long-term tenant on Airbnb? Okay, and he was like, no, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. And I was like, okay, well, you know, we can definitely help you get started. And he was like, okay, well, how would that work? And I literally, and I kid you not, I literally offered to rent it and manage it for him for like 20% of whatever revenue that I made, okay? I would rent it out for him. I would get it booked. I would get it cleaned. I was even cleaning the Airbnb myself because I was living like 20 minutes away from the house. Any repairs, handyman, maintenance. The property had a hot tub. I would clean the hot tub as well. Like anything that like went into actually managing the house, I would do. I offered to do it. And he was like, okay, well, you know, what would that look like in terms of like, you know, property management? How much would you charge? I literally charged him 20%. So I found this guy who had a really nice house. It was furnished. It was luxurious. And I charged him 20% of whatever revenue that we generated to manage his house, okay? And we listed his property on Airbnb, and literally within that first month, we made $6,500 in revenue, which was double what he was trying to rent it out for. I think he had it listed on Zillow for like $3,100 or something. So he got his mortgage paid for. He got a little bit extra on top, and I took 20% of $6,500, which was around like $1,300, like close to that. So that is how I got my feet wet, right? And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I can just find more of these people who need their house managed. I don't need to buy houses at all. I mean, I didn't even have enough money to buy houses. Like at this point, I had lost a lot of money in the stock market. I didn't have any of my own capital. And I was like, okay, well, now I just need to find more houses. Like, how do I find more houses? So I asked them. I started knocking on doors nearby. I I even asked the homeowner if he had any other friends or family members who own properties. I asked him himself if he had any other houses himself. And sooner or later, like, I literally used that one property that made me $6,500, and I used it as a testimony, like as a case study, like as proof. And I showed other homeowners, like, here's how much money I've made, you know, this person, and I can do it for you as well. And that's how I got more and more deals. I just had more and more properties to show, and then it was kind of like a snowball effect. And then it got to the point where I was like, all right, you know, I'm doing like $10,000-$15,000 a month in profit, like just take home cash flow, because it's a high profit business. There's zero margin, zero investment up front, zero risk, right, when you're managing someone's house. So I just started managing a lot of other people's properties, and then I got to the point where I was like, all right, you know what, I can kind of like do this myself. And so I went out and I started signing leases on my own with actual homeowners. Like, I was doing the same business model, but instead of managing it for someone else, I started signing leases with those homeowners. So the next time I saw someone renting their house out on Zillow for like $3,000 a month, I would actually go ahead and sign a legally binding contract with them, like a long-term rental agreement, just the same as a normal tenant would, right? And I would take that house, obviously with their permission, and I would relist it as a Airbnb, as a short-term rental on Airbnb. And the $6,000 to $6,500 in revenue that I'd make from that house, instead of taking 20% of that as a management fee, I would keep 100% of that. So I would keep the full $6,500, and all I would need to pay off is really just the rent to the homeowner, right? So then me paying the rent to the homeowner, that $3,000 for his rent, his cut of whatever he wants, or whatever he listed it for, and me keeping the $6,500 left me with a profit margin of $3,500 on those types of deals. Now, obviously, I have expenses, cleaning, and all that stuff that I had to also pay for, but $3,500 profit margin was a lot better than what I was getting when I was making like $1,200 managing a house, managing a property, being a property manager. So then I was like, okay, well, this is scalable and it's actually more worth it. So why don't I just get more of these? So that's how I really got into Airbnb, like by myself, like building my own portfolio and my own business out. So I got more of those properties, and then I started signing leases all over the country as well. Like, I moved into different states, and I realized like very soon that I can just find cleaners and other property managers like myself, like how I started, to manage those houses in other states. So then what had happened was I started signing leases in more in Virginia, more in Washington, D.C. I lived in Maryland at the time. I was signing properties all over Maryland. And then the first like kind of like big state that I signed a lease for was in Texas, right? So anyways, I hope that helps. Sam just got here. We're about to drive to the office. It is a very, very lucrative business model and a very lucrative process on how to start investing into Airbnb. I dropped a free guide right down below that will essentially teach you how this entire process works in full detail. And it's going to break down the entire like actual like blueprint on how you can get started and what you need to do and what the exact business model entails in detail for you guys for free. There's a free guide. I added that. And I also do have a one-on-one coaching program if you guys are interested in partnering up and being directly mentored by me, myself. We do offer that. You can also book a free consultation call with one of my coaches so we can see if it's a good fit for you or not. And we will help you not only find your first Airbnb rental, but also set it up and help you manage it as well, the same way I got started. So hope that helps. Feel free to like, subscribe, send this to someone that could benefit from this video and really just get a better grasp on how this business model works. And I'll see you in the next video.